If we make use of the My Bedroom with Resources Assigned file, we're going to introduce the split view. What the split view will allow you to do, well, is a number of things. Firstly, to see more information on the screen at one time, but also to drill down into some of the numbers and the values behind a particular task or a particular resource. Now, to introduce the split view, there are a couple of ways to activate it. The easiest is to come down to the bottom here of the scroll bar, and just after the down pointy arrow, you'll see that the cursor changes from pointy arrow to a double-headed arrow with two horizontal lines between. If you double-click at that point, it will introduce the split view. And to take away the split view, you can do the same again on the join here, double-click. Or you can click and drag if you don't want the full height, and then you can stop at the height you would like it at. Alternatively, you can go to the View ribbon and put a little tick in Details here, and that brings up the split view in the bottom half of the screen. Now, as you can see here, this is showing you the information for the items selected in the upper half of the screen. So if I click on here, Take Down the Curtains, it then shows me the current details for Take Down the Curtains, and I can see the resource, the units, the work, its type, its duration, completion, start date, finish date, so I can see quite a bit of information, and I can use this bottom screen to actually move through to the next task in the list, and that way step through my tasks this way. Now, currently I'm looking at the form for the tasks, but if I right click over here in the grey area, I can change what I see in this subsection to cost, and I would see the costs. So if I were to pick on Plaster the Walls, which has a number of cost items, I can then see the cost of the decorator is $480, the cost of the plaster is $6. I can right click here and choose predecessors and successors. That way I would see the task that precedes the current one, but also any that succeed it. So where the flow of the data goes. And again, you can still move through the tasks in the upper half of the screen. Or I can right click and choose resources and predecessors. So that way I can see the resources and the predecessors. Now this bottom half is not just a view only, it's an editable screen. So if I wanted to add another predecessor, I could click in here and choose one. If I wanted to add some more resources, I could click in and choose one, and then add my units. So it's not just data to view, it's data to work with, but you're seeing much more on the screen in one go of the same task. I can see a schedule. I can see notes. So if you use the notes section heavily, you could leave this as your bottom half of the screen, and as you move through, you would see the notes associated with each task. I can see objects, so that's anything that I've inserted into the notes section. Again, if you use it heavily, if you insert a lot of PDFs or Word documents, for example, then this would be a good way of seeing them. Or we can go back up to the cost. I do quite like the cost one because it gives you the breakdown. If in this top half here, we change the table to the cost table, the bottom half doesn't change, but that way I can see this 486 and I can see the breakdown. Or the 400 for paint the woodwork is just the joiner's fee. Paint the accent walls is broken down. $112.98 is actually $100 for the decorator, $7 for the paint, and $5.98 for the paintbrushes. So you can see that's quite a useful tool, this bottom half. And at any stage, if it's using too much or you don't want to see it, you can turn it off either by double-clicking the horizontal line here or just removing the tick from the details. So if I take the top half back to the entry table, the bottom half can be controlled on the right click here, but also you have a choice from the drop down here of what to see. So I might want to see the resource form for the current task. And you can see there, I've chosen paint the accent wall, that uses the decorator. I then see what the decorator is doing. I might want to see the network diagram. I might want to see the Gantt chart. So that only shows me the selected task. Or I could select a number of tasks and I see all of those in the bottom. So it's all very controllable, very user-friendly, and very down to you to choose. I'm going to go back to the task form because that's what we're used to, and the task form has those sub-options of work, schedule, cost, notes, objects. And then these three sort of mini tables of whether you see predecessors and successors, resources and predecessors, or resources and successors. Totally down to yourself. If I don't want any of those at all, I don't want the split, I simply click here again. So there's a few options for turning the split off. So that's the split view. Some people absolutely like it, some people don't like it at all. What you do have to be careful when you are in split view, if I just go in, is to make sure that you are in here if you want to make a change up here, and you are in here if you want to make a change in here. Because if I'm in the bottom section here and I click Gantt chart, the Gantt chart loads into the lower half of the section, not into the top half. And then it can get a little confusing as to what I'm looking at. So you just need to be a little bit careful, but the default here is task form. When you're in the resource sheet, so if I remove that split and change to resource sheet, I can also introduce the split view, and then that shows me the selected resource and when it's used. So not just the tasks have this split screen option, the resources also have the split screen option. You'll be able to dig deeper into the data and see here, as far as the decorator is concerned, the tasks that the decorator is assigned to. And you could do the same for the joiner, the plumber, and perhaps where the paint's being used. And we're only using the paint to paint the accent wall. Where's the glue being used? Well, that's being used in 3 tasks. So that's the split screen. I quite like it. You might quite like it. You might not.